Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillah, amma ba'd, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I wanted to share some insights regarding the importance of having a teacher. Having a teacher in traditional Islamic sciences is extremely important, not only because these are the individuals who have received it from their teachers and so on and so forth, all the way up to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That in itself is enough. But these are the people, inshallah, who have received the knowledge from their teachers and also the practice from their teachers. And that is really the fruit of Islam. Meaning these are the people who looked at their teachers, stayed with their teachers, understood different aspects of their teachers, put it into practice into their lives, and then now they are displaying to you the result of that. There's a famous hadith where Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam states, "الرجل على دين خليله فلينظر أحدكم من يخالل." A person is upon the religion of their best friend. So you should be very cautious who you befriend. Now, this doesn't only apply to friends like in your immediate friend circle. It applies to anyone who you are with for an extended period of time. That's what a friend is, a person that you spend a lot of time with. So our asatidha and our teachers, they are individuals that at times, I'm talking about personally myself, sometimes you spend 8 years, 9 years, 10 years studying under these individuals. You meet with them during the classes, you ask them questions in the class. Outside of the class, you go to them, you speak with them. Sometimes you go to their homes, you interact with them, you see them in the masjid, you live with them for almost a whole decade. And what I noticed is when we were studying, you have the first year students and then you have the final year students. It was a 7-year course. There was a huge difference between the first year students and the final year students. Not only in knowledge, of course, in knowledge, like the final year students are practically ulama, they're scholars. And first year students are just beginning their journey. So you see the difference in the knowledge, but you also see a difference in their akhlaq, their character, the way they handle themselves, the way they handle certain situations. So what accounts for the difference in the akhlaq, the difference in the character? The difference in knowledge is because they studied for so long. But the difference in character is because of the ikhtilat, because of the suhbah, the connection, the companionship of the ustad. So they stood and stayed with their ustad for a very long time. And many students, many ulama, still have a connection after they graduate with their asatidha. They talk to them, they send them messages, emails, etc., ask them for mashwara. So this is the secret element that causes a change in an individual. If you have someone in your life who is a very positive individual, they'll rub off on you. Just like negative company rubs off on you. Negative company rubs off a lot. If you're around people who use a lot of profanity, pretty soon you'll find yourself utilizing profanity. If you're around people who do drugs, that's why they say, this negative company, it will, in the least, what it'll do, maybe you won't do the drug, but it'll lessen the dislike for the drug in your mind. You'll start thinking that, it's not that bad. You'll get used to being around such an individual, which is one step closer to doing it. Now, the opposite is also true. You're around people who are in love with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That'll rub off on you. You're around people who perform a lot of salah. You're around people who speak very well. You're around people who have the highest level of akhlaq. That will definitely rub off on you. And I want to share a story with you regarding a friend of mine who was a classmate. He told me this about himself. We were studying hadith class. It was a specialization in hadith course. And our teacher was a very soft-hearted person. Very kind. He would never get angry. No matter what the students would do, if the students didn't check up, do their homework, etc., he would be very calm, cool-headed, wouldn't get angry. It's extremely kind and gentle. One of the most gentle individuals that I've met. So this friend of mine, he said that he had an anger problem coming into the course. And one thing that he noticed after 2 years his anger was completely gone. And he said that it was due to the suhbah, being around the ustad. And the amazing thing is that our ustad only talked about hadith. He only talked about academia, academic aspects of a hadith, takhrij, where to find a hadith, mustalah al-hadith. There was never any real discussion about character development. This ustad never would spend time just, joking around. That wasn't his temperament. He was a very serious individual, very kind and gentle, but he wouldn't waste his words. So subhanAllah, this friend of mine, after 2 years, with no real conversation, we just observed our ustad. We looked at him. That's it. And we saw how he dealt with certain situations when a student is not learning, when someone does something that would usually anger us. We observed him and we saw that he didn't get angry. And we admired that about him. And in 2 years, my friend said that completely his anger subsided. He wouldn't get angry anymore. He noticed that. So subhanAllah, imagine if you're around people who love Allah. Imagine if you're around people who perform tahajjud. Imagine if you're around people who exemplify Islam. What is that going to do to you? So this is one of the greatest aspects of having asatidah, having shuyukh, having teachers that you are connected to. One other thing I would mention is that anyone who loves books in the the ulama field, anyone who loves books, if you look into their history, if you ask them, how did you get into loving books? How did you get into this hobby? They will tell you it was either an ustad, a teacher of theirs, or it was a classmate. Someone who had the love of books transferred that love into them. So they would talk about books passionately. They would discuss books. They would share different things about books. And then it transfers on to the next person. And then they also fall in love with books. So it's so amazing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made this system that you can hang around people. You can stay around people just in their company, around them, observe them. And without even knowing, you'll observe their character traits. And this is why you and I really need to surround ourselves with good company, because it will ultimately determine who we become. And that is exactly what Rasulullah ﷺ says here, that a person is upon the religion of their best friend. So be cautious who you befriend. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the best of company, the awliya, the righteous, the salihun, the ulama. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to save us from negativity and poor company. وصلى الله تبارك وتعالى على خير خلق محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.